Andy Cohen has been on this promotional trail promoting his new book. Um, what is the name of the book again? um, it doesn't matter. Oh, it's the Daddy Diaries, the year I grew up. So he came out with a book, and I want to give a shout out to All About the Real Housewives because they posted this on their Instagram, and they basically was like, their headline was, I read Andy's new book, so you don't have to. A summary of all the Housewives tea. So he revealed all the Housewives tea, and I'm going to break it on down. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to commentate. That's not a word. I just made it up. I'm going to give it. I'm going to commentate or give a little commentary as we go along because if I wait to the end of all of this I'm reading, I'm going to forget. So I'm going to just give my opinions as I read along. So let's talk about Real Housewives of New York. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go in the order of the screenshots that I took. So I'm going to just read it from my phone. So this part I was shocked by, and people were sending me this like all yesterday. I had like 3 or 4 people send me this part. And I'm like, I know. I got the screenshots. I'm going to be talking about on the show. So apparently, Wendy Williams called him personally to pitch herself to join the Real Housewives of New York. He said they would have gladly taken her a few years earlier, but didn't think it was a good idea with all her newfound mental health struggles. I actually agree with him on that. And you want to know something? I have to give Andy some props because, normally I'd be feeling like he's repulsive in some ways. But the fact of the matter is, he was like, you know what? I would have taken you eons ago because I remember she did entertain the idea that she said if I was to ever do a Real Housewives, it would probably be Miami. Because I guess her parents live down in Florida. But now that she's in this place of like, she just wants to desperately be on TV. No, girl, we're not trying to see you being like you're not going to be Sonya 2.0 on the Real Housewives of New York. We can't have that. So I'm actually good on him that he decided to be like, you know what? No, you're not in a good place right now. You need to get yourself together. And now she's already doing another reality show somewhere else. And it's unfortunate. We already know the story about that. But I'm glad that he was actually looking out for her and being like, no, we don't want you on the show. Not in this state that you're in. It was also Andy's own idea to split Roni up, and he pitched the 2 shows to executives personally, but still dreaded telling the fans and the women the news. He knows how much everyone loved Roni. We did until some problematic things came out, and notwithstanding of the stuff with Ebony K. Williams recently about not dating the bus driver or whatever. But that last season was a hot ass mess. It said he first approached Bethany about legacy, speaking of Bethany, but she didn't understand the point of the show. However, she did seem open to it and told him to make him an offer she couldn't refuse. He then insinuates she's two-faced for publicly bad-mouthing the show the day after it got announced when she was asking for an offer to do it the day before. Doesn't like Bethany trash housewives in general, which I actually agree with him on. First of all, if it wasn't in Bethany, you like curse people out and tell them pay their fucking bills, but now we got to go in on you. Let's not forget, if it wasn't for the housewives, you wouldn't be where you are today. You were, who was she? Jill Zarin's personal assistant or chef or something? I'm trying to remember. Look, it's been so long since I've seen the Housewives of New York. I don't remember exactly what her role was. But remember, you started out as like when you was talking about, you was the broke girl. You didn't have all the things that these other women had that was on the show. You was the regular girl, which is why we gravitated towards you because you were the penny pincher. You were the regular girl who did what was it? The Apprentice, the one with Martha Stewart, not the other one, the asshole that gets to go do town halls at fucking CNN. Don't even get me started on that bullshit. So you're bad mouthing the very thing that made you that got you where you are. You're biting the hand that fed you. And you got to promote your skinny girl margaritas to the show, and you had your many iconic moments. Go to sleep. when you went at Jill Ben Simone. Like, Kelly Ben Simone. Jill Ben Simone was her husband. Jill Ben Simone was Kelly Ben Simone. Sorry. But anyway, so I don't like the fact that she did that either. So I'm with him on that. Luann was not happy about Legacy and had valid concerns they discussed, but Andy wouldn't go into them in the book. Leah immediately texted him and asked to be on Legacy with the old school bitches and not the reboot. Parting ways with Ramona was mutual but very zen. Her new guy didn't want to be on camera and she wanted a break anyway. He didn't like the she called Legacy lame though, the loser show. Literally nothing about season 13 or the Ebony Ramona HR investigation. How you write a book, but you're not going to reveal that to you? We want to really know about that unless because it's the HR investigation and that whole thing that it's been sealed and that's not something you can speak on. Because no, Andy is not technically an executive. He's talent now. But since he started them Housewives, that's the only thing he's benefiting from. Says the two all-time biggest leakers to the press are in the Roni cast. And in parentheses, they have Luann and Jill. So that's, I believe, all about the Real Housewives, implying that it might be Luann and Jill who are the biggest leakers. He told the Carol Razzle for the first time in years after his phone got hacked and accidentally kept calling her. A business-like exchange is how he described the convo. Had many casting issues / dropouts with new Roni. Jenna Lyons was the last to be cast and they really needed her. Now, from New York, let's go over to Beverly Hills. So it said that he hated that the season 12 Kathy drama happened off camera and didn't want Rinna to turn it into the main storyline of the season. Yeah, because we would have loved to have gotten down to the root of, did she call someone a gay slur and use the N-word and all that other stuff? That would have been some good tea to know. Is Kathy Hilton a racist? Like, I really want to know, or a homophobe? I need to know these teas. Hates the constant leaks with Beverly Hills, but Rinna keeps swearing it's not her doing it. Rinna, it was you, girl. Hates the toxicity of fans on social media, but admits their unhappiness with the season kept him up at night. Oh yeah, because people was going in on social media. I remember I was reading it. I got caught in that matrix where people were really showing their disdain for the fact that they felt like Beverly Hills was not watchable. It wasn't enjoyable to watch. It was just negative. And Brenna was just taking things way too far. Like, it wasn't even about the show anymore. She was just like taking it beyond the show and really just creating this monster within itself. Says he hates Diana Jenkins. I'm glad she's a one season hoe. Hates Diana for not showing up to the reunion, which she has so much to answer for. He didn't understand her at all, and now holds a distinction of being the only housewife in history he's never even met. So I'm like, you've never met Diana Jenkins, so she's never appeared on Watch What Happens Live or any of those other shows. And based off of this little sentence, I knew she did not have no goddamn COVID. She used it as an excuse because she didn't want to show up to the reunion because she knew she would have to feel, she would have to face the firing squad. Were you, the main culprit behind the bots, the troll farm, going after Garcelle and the threats against her son and the all the craziness that was going on? I truly believe to this day that Diana and Rinna had something to do with that troll farm. I really do. Feels like he totally shit the bed on the season 12 reunion by not being tough enough on the Fox Force or asking enough follow-up questions. He said Garcelle was especially stressed before the reunion and that she texted him after to tell him how disappointed she was with how it went. Well, I would be too, and that's why he had to apologize because, when they showed them, or what was it, Rinna, that threw Garcelle's book in the garbage, Andy's making little jokes. And I'm so glad social media dragged his ass over there. But he clueless anyway. Ain't he a Gemini? I think. He half-ass crazy anyway. Okay, so Rinna texts him in the middle of the night after the season 12 reunion saying she's officially leaving the show. He texts her back saying that feels right, which means that he felt it was a mutual agreement, which I think in a way She knew that they were going to go after her, but she thought, let me get ahead of it and quit before y'all fire me. Because I think she knew it was coming. She saw the tea leaves. She saw the writing on the wall. Then he finds out weeks later from his team, Renner took it all back and wasn't planning on quitting. He says he wished she could have left on a high note, but also called her departure a pause and alludes to her returning down the road in the form of a girls' trip because don't you got Dorinda on pause too? Couldn't believe people thought Dorit's home invasion was faked. Says Dorit is not a good enough actress to ever pull that off. Producers were courting Leslie Grossman. I was like, I gagged when I saw this. Leslie Grossman from American Horror Story. Mary Cherry from Popular. Yeah, I'm taking it back. To become a housewife, and Andy didn't even know about it. Ooh, they tried him. There's some OC news too, but I don't really watch OC about that. But I do. There's one part that I did find particularly interesting. But before I get to that, the Dorit stuff, I'm sorry, I was one of the people that didn't believe it. I felt like it was just ill time that she faked this whole robbery situation because um, she really wasn't bringing anything in regards to the season. She was just there providing, being a label whore with all the fashions. So she really wasn't bringing what needed to be brought in regards of the show, in my opinion. So, let me just cook up a robbery storyline just to keep myself going. Because I feel like a lot of times y'all be making up storylines just to keep yourselves on these shows. It don't feel like it's reality TV. Okay, so they said that Taylor Armstrong approached Andy directly about wanting to join OC after moving there. He thought it wasn't the worst idea in the world. Now here we got Vicky, problematic ass. So now Vicky immediately found out Taylor was in talks with the show and was all up in his grill wanting to know if she had gotten a contract. I just don't, you know what? I've always said this about Andy. Andy is a damn pushover. Like he lets these women just push him around and try to control the situation. Like who the hell is Vicky Gunvalson? Yeah, you a part of the OG cast of Orange County, and y'all like the first show to ever come out of the gate. But bitch, you don't run Bravo. Like who are you? I don't like her. I never liked that ugly ass woman. But anyway, so then they said Vicky cried to him after finding out Tamra was coming back and had to pull out a Watch What Happens Live for the announcement because she wouldn't stay composed. But later she did the show and wound up being sweet and supportive of Tamra, which made Andy emo. Meanwhile, the entire crew was masked up because of Vicky's anti-vax status. Well, if she's somebody who's against getting vaccinated, she don't need to be on my damn show. She don't need to be on camera. I'm not compromising my immune system for no anti-vaxxer. Sorry, I'm not. Which makes me wonder that time when she was on Ultimate Girls Trip, when it was at the Berserkshires, since she's an anti-vaxxer and she was sick the whole damn time, did she have the 19 and was she putting people at risk? Oh, y'all not saying that because I just wanted to film. Okay, so let's move on to Jersey. So, never saw anyone get as drunk or watch What Happens Live as Jen Aiden did in early 2022. New Jersey season 12 reunion was the most exhausting ever. Thought Teresa seemed over the show at that point. She talked to him off camera about wanting off the Housewives for a few years. Then they probably backed up that Brinks truck and she was like, oh no, I got a man to support and 4 daughters. Mentioned several times he thought season 13 would be Teresa's last season. Another thing he said, they really wanted Caroline Manzo back for season 13 because she is still chomping at the bit to take down Teresa, but he knew they'd never agree on a contract for Caroline. Sounds like they wanted her as a friend of, but she had too many expectations, aka full-time and money. He ran the Caroline Manzo idea about Teresa, and she said she would never film with her. He begged her to at least let them go through the negotiation process with her. But Caroline said on David Yontem's show, the Behind the Velvet Rope podcast, she said she would never do the Housewives of this, that, and the third. She probably would do a reiteration of Manzo with children, but she said she would never come back and do like the Housewives. She's moved beyond that. And after the experience of Ultimate Girls Trip, he said she's pretty much done with doing that. Really likes Jackie and didn't want to see her demoted. Said she had the greatest attitude about it, and she told him she'd be the greatest friend of the show had ever seen. Kim D and Kim G beg to differ. Yeah, because Kim D is always going on in on Jen Aiden. I mean, not Jen Aiden. On, oh my god, what else? Jackie Gold Snyder. There she goes on. Teresa called Ramona low class off camera after the wedding invitation fiasco. Teresa wanted Andy to attend and officiate the wedding, but he couldn't accept. Thank you, because I've always said my problem with Andy is that he is too biased with these women. He has his favorites, and he tends to, you know, it's hard to be objective when you are too close to people who was technically your employees. You're the boss since you're the executive producer. Matt Rogers did a huge anti-Gia rant on Gia Judice, I should say, on Watch What Happens Live. They had to cut from airing because Annie didn't want it to look like an attack on her kid. Now, here's the thing. I know a lot of y'all don't know this, but Watch What Happens Live is not necessarily live. It is taped. They film it earlier, and then they air it, at 11:30, whatever time the fucking comes on. But then they said they didn't want it to look like you're attacking a kid. But here's the thing. Gia has now positioned herself and asserted herself to being like this adult. Asserting herself into grown people shit. So my thing is, if you say you grown, I'm gonna treat you like you grown. And that's always been my problem with Teresa. Teresa talks to her daughters like they her friends and not necessarily her kids. That's why I had to laugh during that scene when Melania is sitting in the front seat and Louis gets caught on camera talking about, oh, we're inviting all these people to the party except your brother and his wife. So y'all deliberately just want to invite people. And then she's like, you're on camera. We're filming. So it's like y'all putting on this act when the cameras is on. But anyway. Kathy Wakili sent him tons of gifts for Lucy when she was born. That'd be his daughter, despite not having talked to her in many years. Now, Atlanta news. I gotta hurry this on because I feel like I've been going on a long time with this stuff, but it's a lot to break down. Now, what Atlanta thought season 13 or early season 13 was subpar and prayed the season would get better. I do agree, it was subpar, child. Sheree's original tagline for season 14 was, there is no greater OG than she. Oh, they were trying to do a play on She by Sheree. Sheree hated it and demanded a redo. Thought Marlo did too much on season 14. She's walked around on that show with an AK-47 and randomly firing at people. And she's still doing it. Thought the season 12 and season 13 reunions were terrible, but loved the season 14 reunion. Thought Marlo stole the show after they did a full 90 minutes about her past and present, much of which didn't air. Yeah, they seemed to film a lot, but we didn't get to see a lot of that during that season. Now he finally addresses fallout with Nene, saying, what a sad end to a relationship with someone I adored and put on a pedestal for years. The door is closed. So there's no chance of reconciliation for Andy and Nene in a relationship, or her, I guess, coming back to the Housewives. The day after Nene's racial discrimination lawsuit dropped, Amy Sedaris showed up to the set of Watch What Happens Live screaming racist at Andy as a joke. And then he talks about Salt Lake City, how he didn't think he did a good job on the season 2 reunion, hated Jen Shah's performance, thinks she tried to deflect and blame her crimes on racism, very bummed Mary didn't attend, and the Maloof rule meant she had to be fired because of it. Yeah, so if y'all don't show up to reunion, you're pretty much done. Now, we got some ultimate. Now we're gonna get to the Ultimate Girls Trip and BravoCon, and then we're gonna be done. We gotta take a break. So, season 3 casting process for Ultimate Girls Trip was a mess. That's the current season that's airing. Sounds like there were multiple dropouts last minute. Tinsley was rumored to drop out, but he doesn't mention her. He says they went to Garcelle last minute, but she didn't get back to them in time. Then they went to Shannon, who was unavailable. Finally, they landed Portia at the very last second. Leah was also an alternate, but he doesn't mention her. Alexis and Megan King Edmonds wanted on and were in the running, but production seemingly passed on them. Season 4 of Ultimate Girls Trip, Camille and Gretchen accepted immediately. Sounds like they were the first ones cast. Caroline Manzo was a last minute addition. No mention on why there were so many reports, repeats, sorry, from season two. Yeah, they seem to be recycling a lot of the girls from prior shows. Now, bravo, Con. Luann refused to be part of the performance medley until the last second when it was too late to join. Hated that Renna got booed, but thought she handled it well. Well, she should have known that was coming because the way she performed on that last season of Beverly Hills, the fans wasn't having it. So, of course, she was going to get booed. And she said she loved it and gave them the finger. They thought she was going to pull some huge stunt after making veiled threats about the show. And last but certainly not least, told a joke on stage about Giselle's fashion sense that she ended up being really offended by, and they had to cut for TV. Also had to cut a joke about Renna being Michael Myers. Wait, I could have sworn that clip of the joke about um Giselle's fashion sense made it to air because I believe somebody recorded it on their phone and uploaded it to social media. I could have sworn I saw it. That's where I saw it. But anyway, that's some of the highlights and stuff of Annie's book. But if y'all still want to go out and read the book, be my guest. But just know that those are all the juicy highlights that you will get when you watch it. But I do mean when you read it. But I don't like the idea that he didn't really like go and divulge on certain things that I mentioned earlier. Like I really like some details on some stuff. I really would have loved to hear like what really went down with this whole his situation with Nene and all that other stuff. But I guess Andy's the type he's gonna give you what he feels like he wants to give you just enough. But I'm hoping somebody out there does something where we can get all the true tea of what goes on behind the scenes of these housewife shows.